This is usually the case where I'm not allowed to help.
Today, I'm with my parents cooking up my mum's famous Nhuk Yang, a Timorese Chinese meatball dish. My parents were in the restaurant business for over 30 years. I even used to work as a kitchen hand in their Chinese restaurant, Dragonfish.
Washing the dishes, I saved enough money to buy our first DVD player.
And this was one of their most often used ingredients.
Okay, this is MSG in this used Vegemite jar. It basically looks like salt, like flakes of salt or flakes of sugar. And if you taste it, it kind of tastes like instant ramen broth. Totally salty umami goodness.
You've probably heard of it, and you've definitely eaten it. MSG, or monosodium glutamate, is a food additive most associated with Chinese cuisine. But even though I grew up eating it, this stuff has a bad reputation.
Worse than nicotine, worse than drugs. It's called monosodium glutamate.
Migraines, throat swelling, diarrhea, vomiting.
But what exactly is MSG? And why does it have such a bad rep? It was first discovered more than 100 years ago by Japanese chemist Kikunae Ikeda. He was wondering why his wife's tofu and vegetable soup had such a deep and meaty flavor. She said it was because of its seaweed broth, which Ikeda promptly reduced down to a crystalline powder. Today, MSG can be made through the fermentation of starch, sugarcane, or other ingredients.
It's generally used to create flavor, create a sort of a umami flavor, which is savory and meaty.
Umami is the fifth recognized type of taste, alongside sweet, salty, sour, and bitter.
But the story of how this odorless powder became so demonized started more than 50 years ago.
It's a weird story, it's a complicated story. It was a letter from Dr. Robert Homan Kwok to the New England Journal of Medicine in 1968.
His letter complained that he had strange symptoms after visiting Chinese restaurants in the US.
So originally what happened is the doctors who responded to him in the letters to the editor section, they thought he was frankly full of crap. It's really ironic because the doctors and his audience treated it like it was nothing. But then news outlets picked up on this story.
The New York Times published a story saying MSG was the culprit, citing Dr. Homan Kwok's letter as evidence. And so the term Chinese restaurant syndrome was born. It was even adopted in 1993 by the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. But since then, rumors have swirled that MSG can cause sickness, obesity, and even brain damage.
The long-standing myth that MSG, does a whole range of things to your body starts from this really weird racist irony.
One thing we do know is that its toxicity is quite low, but it does have symptoms. High intake is associated with, for example, thirst, headache, and numbness of the muscle, especially the neck.
The amount needed to produce even mild symptoms like headaches is quite high.
Up to 3 grams, whereas the daily average consumption for those that use it is only half a gram.
But it only affects those small number of individuals that have high hypersensitivity to MSG, but not to the general population.
Still, to this day, the myth around MSG is ingrained in the West, and it's more likely to do with xenophobia than science.
Because as long as you have Asian people in Western context, particularly Chinese people, there's always been racism around food. I don't think MSG is the cause of the racism, but I think it's bound up in all of those stereotypes of, oh, Chinese food is foreign, oh, Asian food is dirty.
Ironically, MSG is present in all sorts of everyday foods.
So if you've ever eaten a Dorito, you've had MSG.
Labeled as a flavor enhancer and bracket MSG, or with a number 621. If you look for that, then you know that those foods contains MSG.
So MSG is safe to use. In moderation. Many chefs now agree it actually has an important role to play in enhancing taste.
Perfect. 2 sauces done.
MasterChef winner Adam Liao is a known proponent of using MSG. So is Heston Blumenthal. And of course, my 2 most favourite chefs, Mum and Dad.
struggle.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, good.
was it more?